You good?
Okay. Good evening, everyone, or good morning in your part of the world. My name is Sharmee Divan, and with me is Dr. Ruth Anderson. We are here on the Enlightened World Network with our guest of this evening, Kritika Seth. Kritika is actually a lawyer by profession, and the way that we met was at one of my workshops. And that was the very first time that I ever saw her doing light language. I saw some of, doodles that she was doing in her book that she was taking notes in, and she showed it to me. And that's when I told her that this looks like light language. And I believe that her journey started even before she got into my workshop. She has a beautiful self giving spiritual side to herself, and she also operates an Instagram handle called the Cosmic Whisperer, which is a channel of divinity. She's called upon as Kritika, but in the cosmos she is known as Nida. She is known to bring through the magic of the cosmos to heal and nourish the well being of every soul who she finds. And she is a channel of the light as the universe brings through the magical codes which assist us in the process of finding our divinity and peace. As a channel of light, she is found to often bring through activations for expansion into the higher vibrations and connecting to the cosmic support. So, Kritika, over to you. Tell us even more about yourself.
Thank you so much, and that's very sweet. Um, so yes, for me, light language is just it's just like speaking to anybody and everybody. It's just another form of communication, and it's so beautiful and it's so pure that every time I'm pulled to do something and to create something, um, it just nourishes me. It brings through something which is so much more pure and so much more beautiful. There's this peace inside, and I just know that I'm being taken care of. So it's it's just a beautiful connection I have with the one above and the one actually doing it all. So that's just how it is for me. And I started my journey actually with writing the codes. That's how they feel to me. And even now, I mostly am creating something out of it, out of the writings. Um, but the more I connected with the codes, and the more I was open to allowing them, um, they kept flowing in different ways. It could be dance movements, it could be hand movements, it could be by way of singing. That was something which happened very recently, actually. So yeah, it's been a journey with the language itself, and it's definitely something that just paves its own path, and it's a beautiful experience.
And Kritika, how long ago did this journey exactly start for you?
So interestingly, I used to create these light codes when I was very little, and it was the form in which I would just be like noting it down while I was probably sitting in a classroom and looking outside at the peach trees and stuff. And I was in a convent, so my sisters used to come and tell me, that what are you doing? You're supposed to be actually focusing on your exam, and I would be lost and enjoying, the leaf blowing. And I was always very connected to the nature. So the doodles that you call, or the codes that kind of come through, they always were coming through me. But I never knew that they were the light codes, or they were, this magical world that I was accessing at that point of time. It was literally like, I think, 2.5 years back when I was a part of light language healing, and that's when I created something again. And my mentor at that point of time recognized it to say that these are codes. Do you know about it? And that's it. That was it. That I think that was the only confirmation somewhere my heart was looking for, because the moment I
Mm-hmm.
got that, I just couldn't stop myself. And when for me the codes kind of flow through the crown, so every time there is
Mm-hmm.
something coming through, I just have this vibration, and I know that I have this urge to kind of start creating. And what's
Mm-hmm.
happening in that moment, I just get lost. It's just something which is coming through on its own. And yeah, and that's how I started exploring it even more, because I used to close my eyes and just let this energy come through. And as and when I started to connect with it more and more, I could see my throat chakra opening. I could see my hands getting easy, open to be to make the movements. Otherwise, because our mind keeps controlling so much of us that all of these things kind of get blocked right on the top. So yeah, and that's how it just started. And like I started experiencing these beautiful healing and activations. I could sense something opening up every time. And yes, I was never somebody who was very visual. I was always somebody who could, I was always clairaudient and clairsentient more. But yeah, I was suddenly able to see myself expand to this energy. And I don't even know how and when it happened. And there was this beautiful mix, and I was one with it. And now I just feel that's just who I am. So it's just that.
Kritika, I've got a
Wow.
question.
Thank you for sharing.
So we use the term light codes so frequently as if everybody knows what that is. Can you describe, in from your vantage, really what is a light code to you? What does it look like? Do you see it? Do you feel it? Can you describe that a little more, please?
So initially, I couldn't see it. Initially, I would just I would just create what was coming through. Um, for In a very simplified way, I mean that's how I related it to. Um, I say light codes are like alphabets. It in the language itself. These are various forms that the light is communicating. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a long design or a long sentence. It could sometimes just be a small little quote. For example, I remember watching Sharmee at some point of time while she would be doing her beautiful angel therapy. She would be like creating these spirals, and I remember her showing me one of her henna designs where it was a spiral, and I was just and I just it was so instant. It was not something that I could put my mind to. It was coming straight from the heart that I told her this is light language, because that had been a particular code which I had been accessing quite often on as a portal, you know. And I kept connecting to it, and I said, no, this is definitely light language. Have you ever tried? So for me, the visual came much later. Initially, it was just something that would come. I would, create it. Sometimes it would be different colors coming through in the form of painting. Sometimes it would be just simple codes put together in different colors. Like there would be times when I would feel the urge to pick two different colors and put them together, or I would just take a simple blue pen and create something. So it was not something that I could be able to understand. Like there was no visual, but over a period of time, I've started to have a particular visual. So there are certain codes which kind of stand out, which become the point where I meditate more over, because out of an entire image, sometimes it's just that one little code which kind of takes you deeper within. And that's where it starts working with you. So a lot of times I see myself visualizing that code and putting it out and allowing it to do its work. So yeah, I mean, that's the best way I can explain. Codes are like alphabets of light language.
Mm-hmm. And following up on that, you mentioned using a light code as a portal. Can you explain that a little more?
Yes. So there was this one particular code that I had created. It was sometime during the full moon, and again, it had come through me so beautifully at that point of time, and the colors and everything was so powerful in it. However, the center of the code was literally like, it felt like a pathway, it just, if you held on to that image in your heart, you would actually see yourself walking through this beautiful tunnel of light, and passing through it and getting out somewhere beautiful. And that was just beautiful, and that's how I was able to recognize that it's a portal. A lot of times when I do get to create these beautiful images, um, there is this, like, I hear certain words. It's very interesting because initially I really didn't know what to call my work, and how do I address the image that was coming through, because when I connected to it, it just felt good, but I never could associate it as something. And again, over a period of time, I started hearing. So each time a quote comes through, I either get one word or I get just a little image of something, and I am able to relate where it's coming from and for what it is. So every code kind of works differently with every person, right? Each individual and each being has different aspects of them kind of needing these codes. Now, how it works for me might not necessarily be how it works for you. So it completely depends on which vibration you are, vibrating, and accordingly the codes start connecting with you and they work with you. So it's so beautiful, and that's why it's so beautiful that I've been chosen as one of these channels, though I believe each one of us is. But to be given the gift to actually be open to it and to recognize that it exists, I think that's something I'm very, very grateful for. But it's amazing how divinity works and how light can really, really change everything for you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So, Kritika, you talked about like every code is different and there are multiple alphabets of the light language. And we actually had a guest of ours who spoke more than 61 different light languages. So are you aware of the light language that you channel? Like, do you know who you are channeling when you do?
So, very honestly, I've never really explored that because every time I did, like initially, I was very inquisitive, and like I said, the mind is always looking for answers. Yes, I was very inquisitive to know where it's coming from and what it is. However, I just stopped questioning it anymore. Like it's more about whoever needs to flow through must flow through, right? I mean, that's the whole concept of a vessel. A vessel is not supposed to question. So I stopped kind of looking deeper into why and who and what, but I started to just allow. And I feel that's where the expansion happened a lot more for me. Though, yes, I would definitely say that initially I connected with the Lemurians, and I mean, I wasn't aware of anything actually, for that matter, about the temple and other things. And I remember sharing it with you that one of my dreams, I happened to be walking through the codes in the Lemurian temple, and actually, you were the one to recognize that it was the temple. So it's been, yes, that there is a connection that I feel with the beautiful world of Lemuria. But yes, I wouldn't say that it's one specific, kind of message that comes through, because it completely depends where I am and how and who wants to really come through. So yeah, I just don't question. So I won't be able to tell you exactly how that works.
And I have actually seen some of your artwork that you do create with the codes. Would you be open to sharing that with our audience today? Do you have
Sure,
something
sure.
handy?
Yes, I do.
There's one that I see in the background, which I've seen before.
Yes, so this
Yeah.
was one of my first paintings that I did. Actually, I didn't know that I could paint, but I started to get the pull that I should. So this actually has codes all across and somewhere in between as well. So that's how I created this piece of artwork. Even this behind me, this is
Yeah.
something that I have. recently been channeling. It's basically this is the code which kind of came through. These were the colors that I
And it
was.
has crystals, is it?
Yes,
Did you
and
say
it has
crystals on it? Okay.
yes, it is. It has crystals because what message I had received was that in order to expand the energy and to manifest something, the crystals had to be added to the codes. So this entire image is actually created. The painting is created full of codes because I channel while I'm painting it, and along with that, even the crystals that are picked are are intuitive. It's not something that I know that I will be picking, so I don't even know what's gonna come. So this is
It's
something that
beautiful.
I've now started working on. Um,
With
Other than
crystals
that,
and codes, is it? That
yes,
is
it
your
is.
recent? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Beautiful.
Uh, Even this image over here, this painting, I will try to pull this out. So this is also a painting that I had done with the codes. If you see, there are codes all across.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, when you look at it, you just know where it's hitting and where it's working. So for me, that's how it has been. The practice just kind of flows in that manner. So these are some of the things that I have done. But yeah, this was like much later. Actually, I started the codes digitally. I used to pin them on a digital app, and for some reason, then I was pulled to paper and pens and the colors around, and that's how I started creating this work as well. So a lot of my work is there on my Instagram page, and you can have a look at that. But for starters, I could show you some of this work also that I have created.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fun, Kritika, to see what all you have created. Do you get an interpretation or a meaning of what it is coming in through you? And if Sharmee or I looked at it, would we, do you think, receive the same interpretation, or do you think it's individual based on what each person needs?
A lot of times it is individual, and sometimes I do get a very generic message from it. However, I have never been given a complete interpretation for a specific person. So if I have created a light code for somebody, the message comes directly to that person. I would rather receive one word of it, and that's about it. Because the beings would prefer it that way. That's how I had been, given the message that don't try to ask, like don't try to ask what the message is. It's not for you. So it happened like a couple of times with me, and then I realized that okay, I'm being too intrusive about it, and so I stopped. And here now, sometimes I do get a very specific message, then I do add it in the reading. However, in most cases, I never get the message. It's just meant for that person.
Got it.
So you
Thank you.
do, so you do create artwork for your clients as well?
Yes, yes. That's something I've started doing very recently. I have created a couple of boards. I call them the cosmic light magic boards. So
Yeah.
because the crystals is what came through, and I was guided that this is what I should share. So yeah, so I started giving these, and yeah, I'm trying to work with this. Because when I was creating just the codes, that was more generic, and hence I started putting it up on the Instagram page. Um, I wanted to send those, like I wanted to create those specifically for people, but every time I tried doing that, I was stopped, and and I was told to wait and wait. So I was waiting, and then a couple of months back, actually, I was given this message that this is how you've got to work. So there are multiple elements to this board. It's more to do with crystals. It's got a lot of essence, incense, essential oils are there. There is colors. There is complete activation with light codes. Because when I'm creating these boards, there's just this. It's beautiful. I'm not there. Basically, I'm not there. It's something else. and the board is created. Once it's ready, even I'm surprised. Wow, what happened? But it just works that way. And when that happens, I think that's why the energy of these boards is very different. So that's something I was guided to share, and I've started doing that.
Thank you.
It's
I have
it's
never
beautiful.
seen anything like this, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely
Especially the
beautiful.
crystal one. Like I always felt like crystals are an important part of light language, because I do Lemurian, and I will hold a Lemurian crystal and I will channel from time to time, but like putting it on a board, making an artwork out of it, that's the first one that we've seen. And I'm so intrigued by it because I love crystals personally, and I think you love crystals too,
I
right,
love
Ruth?
Right.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
and Kritika is a sucker for crystals for sure.
Kritika, can you hold that one back up again?
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
It really is. And the first thing that kind of hit me, I was sensing like a DNA strand coming through, but I was also feeling that energy of going in, like you had said, light code is a portal. And I was thinking that would be so interesting to just sit with that and just follow it in and see where it goes.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
this
For
particular
me, it
board,
looked more like when you go in is when you kind of open
expand.
out. Like that's the message that this particular one is giving to me, with that spiral, and then somewhere I'm seeing
So
it inverted up.
if I have to give an example, quite honestly, each of this element can be considered to be a very different code. So there are days when I'm holding on to this in my heart and meditating upon it, and trying to let it work through me. There are days when I'm working only with this, and then there are days when the whole image is like working through. So this was the first board that I had created because when I was channeling and I was given that message, I really didn't know. So once this was created, that's when I was told that this is the cosmic light magic board. So I just follow whatever message I receive. I don't question. I don't try to change it. I just work with it. And the moment I received that, I noted it down, and in a moment, poof, that was gone. So it's so beautiful. When I did create this, I remember I was sitting and I was meditating actually very normally, and then suddenly this came through, and fortunately I had like these bits and pieces of crystals around me which I could pick on, and I started picking them and I put them on one side, and then I started to work on this. And yeah, and literally it's like each layer of each color, everything is just, it's fully channeled. Like every word, like every corner has certain aspect of light language infused in it. And that's why every time I look at this or when I hold it, I keep it right in front of my bed actually. So when I look at it, it's like an instant activation for me. Like for me, this works like an activation into the spiritual world and into my spiritual practices. That strength of being completely beautifully grounded within that energy, and how I'm connected. So I think that's how it works for me. So this, and just say, like, the three of us looked at it in three different ways, right? Because that's what the codes do. They work with different frequencies and different vibrations, everything.
Wow.
Yeah, what just came to my mind, Kritika, you need space to be able to create, and not just space of your physical surroundings, but emotional and mental space, spiritual space. That if your world and your brain is so cluttered with everything else, you can't be receiving and open to what might be coming in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And but strangely, for me, when the codes want to flow, I, as I mentioned, it starts from my crown. and I immediately start feeling some vibration. And now that I'm conscious of the fact that there's something coming through, then I immediately get into my space, shut everything out and just sit there and just see what's coming through. Sometimes nothing comes through. It's just that feeling and it goes. And other times, and most of the times, that's where it starts coming through. And, I immediately start. So I've actually created a little corner in my house which has all my paints, everything, all the things that I might need, because I don't know when I'm going to feel the need to, begin the work. It can't be done like there are people who ask me, how long will you take to create these boards? And I'm just like, I don't know. I really don't know, because it takes me a while to connect with the energy of the person and then, allow the codes to flow through me. It doesn't work very easily. It works the way codes and light, how it wants to come through. I can't control that. It's just not in my control. So it took me a week. The last board that I created actually took me over 2 weeks to create that, because the first step was just the codes to, energize the board. And then the colors wouldn't come, and they just wouldn't come. And then one day they just came, and then I started to put them together. And then the crystals came. So everything happens quite step by step for me. I believe, it's just how the energy works, because it's aware of how much can you take as well as a vessel and in this body, right? One has to be really prepared for that. Like when I started the process, I did have I had breakouts. I had I had this weird skin peeling, and because I keep working on myself a lot. I keep doing a lot of practices for dropping the mind, and just being open from the heart and receiving. And and that can be quite challenging. Like she mentioned, I'm a lawyer by profession. So God chose very interesting path for me to put the two opposites together. But I think he takes care of me, and that's how it works. But I can't control when and how it happens.
So, that's interesting because Sharmee, I'm remembering one of our other guests, and I'm not remembering which one it was, had physical symptoms of clearing, like acne and rash and stomach and all other things before the light language came in. And it really made us think about clearing out the vessel. So the vessel was pure before, the language would come in. So I guess not surprising to hear that.
Not surprising. That's how it started for me too.
It happens. It happens. It can also boil down to pains. Sometimes, there would be body aches, which we don't realize, we feel that what we haven't done anything, and why are we having this pain? There are these muscles that cramp up sometimes. So there are various ways that your body starts expanding to allow this energy to come through, because it's definitely very powerful. A lot of times, once I have channeled light language, I've created a code or I've created an image, the next thing I know, I have to sleep because I just can't stay up. I'm so tired. It just feels like, everything has been taken away and now it's like time to rest. So it definitely does that. And it's also because I feel the human body will take its own time to kind of be in alignment with that vibration, with that, that frequency, which is so much higher. And hence, of course, we have to allow the body to do that.
So interesting. Kritika, have you met anybody who is critical of what you're doing, doesn't understand it, is uncomfortable with it?
So initially when I started to speak the light language, I had a lot of my family question what it was, in the sense they were just wondering and they were just inquisitive as to, how and what is this, what is it that you're doing? And so it took me a little, like it was something which was different for me as well, because like I said, the language kind of is there within us and it starts opening up after a certain point. when you are accessing it constantly and you're opening up to the space, right? And so when it started happening, of course, I sometimes I couldn't close the door and, start speaking. And there were days when I would actually close the door and do it so that nobody's hearing what I'm doing because I was conscious of it. But I believe over a period of time, honestly, it stopped affecting what people think about it because some may understand, some may not. And yeah, and I started to get the support that I was looking for. So fortunately, with God's grace, I've been blessed in that manner that everybody who's around me has been very open and very, very understanding towards it. So yes, there have been questions. There is, there's that inquisitiveness that everybody has, but I've been blessed to only attract my tribe. That's what I always say. So yeah, I haven't really faced much of criticism there.
Excellent. I'm happy for you. Yeah.
So as we know, you are a lawyer, and there is a very third dimensional side to you, and then there is a very, I would say, 7D side of you, with the light language and this journey that you're going through. My very critical question to you is, how do you strike the balance?
So interestingly, this was the question I used to ask you, if you remember, all the time, right? Like, how am I ever going to strike this balance?
Yeah.
But I remember you telling me this, that, it'll just happen. And I just allowed things to flow in their natural form. I don't. There was a time when I was trying to discipline too much. Like I tried to set up timings for my spiritual work, and then timings for my work. Otherwise, like legal works. But and then I just stopped. I just stopped, and I said, I will do what I feel like doing at that point of time. And I don't know. I think. That's how the universe kind of works. If you allow and you trust that the universe is taking care of you, then the universe just kind of balances everything out for you. So no, I don't have any specific time when I sit into meditation. I can do it at the moment, right now. I can do it maybe in the next 1 hour, maybe, in the middle of the afternoon. I just do that. It's not something that I have to now calculate. So the moment you drop the calculation, the moment you drop the whole idea of trying to balance it, I think the universe kind of takes you into its arms and says, okay, I'll do that for you. And then, yes, I'm being cradled. So somehow I just feel that I'm always just finding spirituality literally even in my work. So I'm grateful because I have clients who have that understanding of what I do. And hence, when I sit for negotiations or when I sit for work, I'm actually still in that space. And there's something that I've started doing is that even if I'm in a very heated negotiation, I sit with I call upon the angels, I call upon, the guides who need to be present to allow me to be there in that moment and the best possible, form of mine. And that really works because that's it. That's surrender, right? And I believe in pure surrender. That's it.
That's beautiful. So you just flow with everything. There's a flow,
Everything. Yeah.
and that flow is of the universe, not yours.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The moment I try to control it, I'm like, bang, and I've been told, there you go. Now you're trying to act smart. That doesn't work. So yeah, every time things start going haywire, I'm like, am I trying to control too much? Because I think that's what's happening. But the moment I let it go, it's been beautiful because as a child also, I sometimes look back and I feel that, I've always been able to do things I wanted to do, without really making too much of an effort, though everybody around me would be very, very worried about me. They would always be wondering, what is she going to do? She's like always in her own world and stuff. But somehow that's what allowed me to actually be in this space where I could, like, I just received everything from the universe. I mean, there was this constant faith I had that it'll happen. It's okay, it'll be done, and it does. It's just that
Yeah.
when we start growing up, I think we start questioning it, and yeah, I've been working very hard on staying connected to that little me. So, so yes, God has been kind to me.
And coming to my very last question, which I ask all of our guests, because this show was started to bring out the light language, and to somewhere connect with people who are perhaps new, perhaps not so new, have a little community, a sense of belonging for all those who are going through this journey. And very many of us are fairly new with this, and I know you've said this in the past that you're not new, you're just starting to remember the old. I remember you saying that. But what is that one message that you would give to someone who is just about opening to the idea of light language, or is just starting to sensitize themselves and opening their world up to then remember their light language?
So I feel something that's like coming through at the moment is actually it's important to stay connected with the true essence of who we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely important to every now and then, even if it is just for 5 minutes in the day, it's important to just go within and stay there for a bit, explore what's there, like what is your heart like? And when we start connecting with our heart and just allowing it to actually be present and actually beat at its own beat and be free from this chaos that we create around it, it just happens. The
Yeah.
key just opens, because it is all about that. Eventually, we all do many practices, we all are walking towards, I mean, we are walking on different paths towards the same goal, right? It's about receiving ultimate that ultimate light in our life. And it's not about being so inclined towards wanting something to come through you. It's just about going within and allowing it to come out of you. That's
That's beautiful. And Kritika, before we complete this show, is there a message that the master wants to give us? The masters, angels, whoever, any being, would you like to give us a message? Is anything coming through?
Yeah, I would request you guys to just close your eyes and take a deep breath in and another breath from your mouth. Just be present. Just stay with this. Open your eyes.
Wow, that was very calming. It just brought me right down. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Very grounding, yeah. It's a lot like the quote that you showed us with the crystals, where I kind of went in and then felt expanded. Thank you.
That's where the magic is. That was the message that I was receiving, that stop for a moment, stay for a moment, be in the moment.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, Kritika, if people want to know more about you or reach out to you, how do they do that?
So I have my details on my Instagram page. Anybody who wants to reach out to me can reach out to me through that. So there is a phone number there, and there's also my email ID, and definitely anybody can DM me at any point of time.
Excellent. Thank you. And that's in our description. So just look below. Sharmee, thank you so much for bringing Kritika to us here today. And Kritika, this has just been delightful. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
So, friends here at Enlightened World Network, thank you for joining us. I hope that you are learning about light language and that this is opening your heart as well as your mind and your understanding of some of these concepts. So much love to each and every one of you. Thank you. Take good care and God bless.